We're just north of Springfield, Missouri, heading down to Mountain Home, Arkansas. We wanted to talk about why we don't typically stay in RV parks. And there are a lot of reasons why, good reasons to stay in an RV park, but we're gonna highlight the five reasons we choose to avoid RV parks as much as possible. All right, so reasons why we avoid RV parks. Number one is money.
Money.
Yes.
I said price.
The price. Okay.
Money.
Okay, let's say it together.
Do that again. Money.
Price. All right. Number one.
Ready?
Money. It's expensive. It can be expensive.
Costs too much.
A typical RV park will cost about $30 to $40 per night, and that's usually the base price. And that may be okay if you're just a couple, or maybe a couple with 2 kids. But most RV parks that we've run into, with a few exceptions, and by the way, the one we're staying at now is an exception to that rule, they will ask you how many people you have, and they will charge you per person for every person over 2 or 4 people. So in our case, you know, that can really add up. And there was one RV park I remember, it was $35, and the guy asked me how many kids we had, and I told him, and he added it all up, and it was like $55 for the night. And I said, are you telling me that the guy that has a giant diesel pusher next to me, who's using up all these utilities and water and everything, they're gonna pay $35 a night because there's just 2 people in that.
With their double air conditioning unit.
Right, and their washing machine and their dryer and their dishwasher and all that stuff. As opposed to us, you know, we have lots of kids, but we're not using any more utilities than than 2 people would if we were in our trailer.
Except showers.
Right, but you know, that's not that much. Anyway, you know, without going into all the details, and my frustration with that policy that most RV parks have.
Pet peeve right there.
That is a pet peeve. That is one of the major reasons why we avoid RV parks, because we just simply can't afford it. It would be a budget buster for us.
Number 2, crowded.
They're crowded. They're usually, it's almost like a parking lot in many cases, where the RVs are just kind of crammed together, you know.
Yeah, like an RV show, sort of.
Yeah. With
just one next to the other.
I mean, there's actually a RV park that we stay in when we go to Pahrump, Nevada. It's at the Saddles West Casino, which is, you know, it's a great place to camp out for the night. But it's literally just a parking lot. And there's no grass, it's just all asphalt. But most RV parks are designed that way. They're just basically, you got your spaces, they're lined up just like this one is. This one has a little bit more space.
This one's a little more spread out.
But you don't have a whole lot of space in between for kids to run around. And that's well and fine when you're traveling across the country and you just want a place to stay for the night, you know.
Yeah, that works fine.
That works, but you know, if we do camp out away from church parking lots, we kind of want to have some space and some areas.
Nature.
Yeah, some nature, some trees, places for kids to run around,
grass.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we really don't like, one of the worst things about an RV park, is most of the time the way things are oriented, the way they're designed, is you come out of your front door and you see your neighbor's sewer hose right there in front of you.
It's a nice view.
So
you really don't want your kids playing out there. Get away from that thing.
Don't touch those things. Get away. You know, and you never.
What's the dog chewing on?
And you never know if your neighbor or somebody, you know, before you had a sewer spill.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3.
Amenities.
Usually when we're not staying in a church parking lot, we opt to stay in county parks and state parks, because even though they don't have full hookups, Most of the time they do have electric hookups, but they are more spread out. It's more like a campground, and they have more amenities for the kids, you know, such as playgrounds and just places to run around.
Well,
and
hiking
have
trails,
fun.
they usually have, you know, it's a state park for a reason, or a county park. They usually have hiking trails and maybe a beach to walk on, or
Right.
there's usually some reason why it's set apart. We're not the type that needs, you know, mini golf and a pool and all that stuff, but we do like the nature trails and the space where the kids can run around and we can go for walks, go hiking, go exploring.
They usually have fire rings and picnic tables and you know, lots of, like I said, space for the kids to run around. And I know it's crossover to number 2, which was overcrowded, but that they kind of go hand in hand in that, you know, oftentimes RV parks just don't really have any amenities other than the full hookups, and you know, it's just not, unless we're just passing through, it's not something that we prefer to do.
It's fun to let the kids out. Number
4. They're oftentimes not very kid-friendly.
Yes.
And this kind of, you know, goes with number 1 in that, you know, they price us out based on the number of kids we have. Have we mentioned we have 9 kids?
That's this many.
And you know, I so often feel like when we bring our kids in, you know, people look at us funny, you know, like, what are those kids doing here? You know, we're you know, we came here for peace and quiet and that kind of stuff. And you know, usually we're surrounded in an RV park by retired couples that probably, you know, they probably went away to get away from kids and to have some peace and quiet.
The neighbor kids.
And you know, especially down south in Florida and Arizona, there's a lot of age-restricted RV parks. I mean, you cannot find an RV park in Phoenix that is,
yes.
Well, there are a few, but very few RV parks in Phoenix that allow kids.
Or Florida.
Or Florida,
Yeah,
right.
so we have to do state parks almost exclusively in Florida.
Right. And state parks, just by virtue of what they are, they're always family friendly. They're always accommodating to families with kids. So. And
this overlaps a lot into the other ones. There's just not the space for the kids. There's not, you know, the things to do. There aren't the things to do outside of the trailer, the extra cost, all that stuff. So they all kind of overlap with that family theme. That's our main focus.
And number 5.
Location.
Most of the RV parks, and this is kind of an overgeneralization.
Yeah, but wait, listen. Can you hear that? That's a highway.
Yes, you can hear the highway.
Just right this far from the highway.
And you know, typically the RV parks that we would stay in, because we're traveling along the highway, would be right along the highway. And you know, many of them are in a town. You know, they've got, you know, all kinds of stuff, buildings and offices and houses and
hotels. Sometimes you're stuck behind a seedy restaurant right next to the grease pit.
Yeah, we'll have to dig that.
Hypothetically,
we'll have to dig up that footage. Yeah.
That wasn't hypothetical at all.
Yes, and the sewer line was broken, so everything was just kind of pouring out all over the place.
That was educational.
So, but yeah, that was right off the highway, as a lot of them are, and you can see that, you can hear the cars on the highway. So, you know, you're not getting that.
Or just peace and quiet, because you know, we are staying in churches all the time, so we are in a parking lot. Churches want to be somewhat visible, so they're rarely stuffed away in a cornfield or in the woods, and
they're usually on the highway, or in the middle of a town or something.
Right. So just to get, you know, away from the noise of cities. We're not city people. And
the county parks and the state parks that we go to are oftentimes a respite from what we typically are in the midst of when we're camped out in church parking lots. So keep in mind, all of these, you know, points that we're making are generalizations. I mean, there are exceptions. There are many exceptions. There are some really nice RV parks that are out in the middle of nowhere. They're
like that one in Oregon.
Very picturesque. Yes, the one in Oregon. But you know, for us, we always have to go back to number one, which is the price, and that's usually the deal breaker for us. So ultimately, you know, we love having full hookups. So don't get us wrong there.
No, we do.
And we do stay in RV parks. Every now and then I can find an RV park that doesn't ask how many kids we have. They don't care, just like the one we're staying in right now. So we've chosen over the years, when we're not staying in church parking lots, to our first place to try and look for would be a county park or a state park. And sometimes city parks have campgrounds too, and we can find those, and they're oftentimes very cheap. You know, some of them are even free. And then, you know, we also stay in Walmart parking lots, which are free, and
very convenient.
Very convenient to go shopping, and
a little too convenient.
Right. Yeah, we spend a lot more than we would if we stayed in an RV park, I think.
Let me just run in and get that instead of putting it on the list.
All right. So anyway, our battery is running low here, so we're gonna cut this off here. Thanks for watching, and please leave a comment if you've had any other different experiences at RV parks or county parks, what your experiences are, what your thoughts are on that matter, and we'd love to hear from you. And now it's getting cold.
I'm cold.
And I'm tired of walking around out here.
It's drizzling, and my ears are gonna freeze up.
It's warmed up today, but now it's getting cold again. So we can't seem to find the warmth as we move south. The cold keeps following us everywhere we go.
I control the weather.
Now I am complaining. I'm gonna whine about it.
Wah.